Well, hello there.
Dun, 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 dun. Long time no see. Oh my God.
It feels like forever.
It really does. Oh my God. I should tell you, I have you now pinned on my phone as one of my top contacts.
Like in your text messages?
Yeah. It's literally
I'm only just now pinned.
Well, because I didn't know other people. I didn't know this until literally like a few days ago that I could do
fine.
this.
You can live.
I wasn't aware. I wasn't up with the technologies. I literally have you, Pierre, my mom, and Ami, just so that you know you're one of my important people in life.
Don't make me cry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like our top 8 from back when MySpace was the day. Remember that? Like I saw one time on our friend on Paul, our guest host. I saw that I'm like not pinned on his phone, but me and Mark are pinned on his phone. I literally decided, I was like, I don't think I can be here. I need to go home. Because he was like, well, you're pinned here with Mark. And I was just like, first of all, I'm in position like 14. Second of all, I was very upset about it. Anyway, I take that very seriously.
Yeah. I remember when top 8 was a thing. Was it top 10 or top 8?
Top 8, girl.
Oh my God. And remember when like you would get petty and really angry with people on MySpace, and then like you would literally go in, do your little coding thing, change it to like more emo music, and then like remove people off of the list, or change the, And then like next day at school, it was like very passive aggressive.
God, those were the days.
The good old days, man.
The good old days.
When like your MySpace top 8 was really like your dramatic life telenovela. Like, those were the days.
Those were the days. Did you watch that movie on Netflix that dropped a couple of weeks ago with Rebel Wilson? It's called Senior Year.
No, but I have it on my list. I'm going to watch it without Pierre, because Pierre gets weird about, me watching like sillier type films. He will literally sit there and be like, do we have to watch this? Can we watch something else? And I'll be like, you tell me what the fuck to watch, sir. Because I'm not going to go down the list of trying to figure out what to watch.
Oh my gosh. Well, no, you should watch it. It's not cinematic.
It's cute.
Masterpiece.
It's cute.
But I definitely watched it, and I was like, I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, I love this song. It was like Mandy Moore Candy. Like she had like twisties in her. You're going to like be like, oh my gosh, I'm so fucking old. First of all, you're going to have that moment. And then you're also just going to like, you're going to be so happy that like the 90s did and 2000s did happen.
Yeah.
And that you got to live it. And you're going to feel so good about it. And I'm so excited to hear how you feel about the show.
Yay. Is it a show or a film?
I'm sorry, the movie.
Okay, cool.
The movie. I didn't watch the end of it because once they were back in 2022, I had no fucking interest. But for the first half of it, when, again, it's very it's very nostalgic. So I want to hear how it goes.
I had no fucking interest. Like 2022 is a la ghetto. We're good. Let's go back.
We're done.
Let's go back to the 90s and early 2000s, please.
No, I swear to God, I literally was like, I was jamming out. I was like, oh my God, it feels very good to watch it. And I'm so happy that they got it right, if you ask me.
Okay. So it's like a feel good movie for us for basically our millennials is what you're saying.
Yes. For the old people. Yes. But it's very good. It's cute. And I will say it also was like a very interesting perspective of like what teens, like Gen Z teens, because I feel like, I don't even know, are they still Gen Z if they're in high school?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, what teenagers are like. I was like, oh my God, these kids are talking about like advocacy and, they were talking about just like environmental health. And it was just like, and I was like, oh my God, kids are so much more like mature in a lot of ways, where we were sitting here arguing over top 8 and here they are talking about like
actual climate change and the end of the world.
But climate change and also just like inclusion and all these things. And I was like, wow, my life was very different when I was, in high school. Again, I'm not saying it wasn't better, but I loved it. Just watch it and come back to me on that.
Actually, now that I think about it, like, holy shit. Like, yeah, these kids are growing up to like a lot more darkness and seriousness in the world.
Yes.
And because of the ease,
we can't.
I know. But like ease of access of information probably allows it to be so. So people are constantly inundated with information, especially when, it's all that there is out there. But today I will say there's a lot of bad shit happening in the world, but we're going to keep it light because that's what we do here at The Basic and The Brain. But I do want to acknowledge that we are aware of all the shit that's going on in the world. But like I said, we're here to create a platform of just like getting away from it. Escapism, if you will. It's my favorite coping mechanism.
Mine is wine, but yes.
We all have our vices, yes.
100%. But that is not the point of today's episode because
that is true.
There's not enough Prozac in this house. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Not enough Prozac, not enough Xanax.
I don't take Prozac. My dogs do, but
and
anyway,
they need it.
They're still problematic. Okay. So we have a lot to talk about today. So I feel like we should jump right into it.
I know, especially now that, you know, it's been a week or so since the beloved, I mean, I say beloved, but we all know I'm fucking lying, Kardashian Barker wedding. What are your thoughts overall? Because I'm going to be honest, like one of our latest TikTok videos went semi-viral with the level of views that we got, but also the level of engagement. Like people were real heated about her goddamn dress. Like lots of people had comments to say. That's the most engagement I think we've seen in a while.
Yes, thank you, by the way, for that. No. Yeah. So first of all, I appreciate you giving me a full week to digest the wedding. So many details that came out about it. And the fun fact about about that clip that we posted, I was actually talking about the black dress that she wore to, like, I think the rehearsal dinner or whatever, when she had the black lace veil with the blue lace on the bottom of it. Anyway, and I think she had like the Virgin Mary on her chest.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt you, but also kind of mean to interrupt you because I know that the Kardashian clan are like religious. I did not know that they were that religious.
They're not religious as in Kris Jenner owns a fucking church. Yeah, sure. Call them religious. But like, yeah, it's wearing crucifixes and like the Virgin Mary and all this shit. Also, like, okay, so to go back really quickly to the post that we shared that people had a lot of opinions on. First of all, it actually was quite fitting, and everyone thought I was talking about her wedding dress because lo and behold, it was the same fucking thing, just in white.
Just in white. Yeah.
Number one. Number two, the dress was still ugly. Sorry. It was just like, you're sitting here again, everyone's wearing crucifixes. You're having this like super quote unquote Christian wedding, because I don't think that they're Catholic. But at the end of the day, your entire fucking vagina is out. I literally see your clitoris as you have the Virgin Mary on your fucking back. The veil was beautiful, but like, girlfriend, I dare you to try to wear that into a Catholic church. Let's see what happens. You will go up in flames. That's all I have to say about that. So
I can't. I mean, also the whole family that night, like, I don't know what Kim was on that night. The only dresses I really liked were Kendall and Kylie's because it was like very toned down. I liked the floral print. I thought it was,
but it also didn't seem to fit anything else. Like everyone else had that like gothic, you know.
Yeah. Kris Jenner wasn't wearing anything.
Oh my God. Kris Jenner, I really liked her dress. Wait, okay. Hold on. Before we talk about the fashion and all the other things that happened, we'll talk about Kendall Jenner having to like put on Birkenstocks and then walk like a baby calf that had, it was I don't even know. She looked like a baby giraffe that just was birthed and like doesn't know how to walk. But I mean, the entire weekend was literally a Dolce Gabbana ad. So one of my best friends, Moro, he actually texted in one of my group chats and was just like, do you see this? Like, everything is Dolce & Gabbana. And at that point I hadn't connected the dots. And I was like, oh, I wonder if her dress is going to be Dolce & Gabbana. And so that's like the lead up to it. But I then heard that D&G, I guess, that this was like their attempt to reboot their brand and kind of become more relevant in 2022, which also not necessarily something that I realized like they weren't necessarily like a top fashion brand anymore because, Dolce & Gabbana, everybody knows who they are. You like everybody knows them, but I realized like, oh shit, like sunglasses, nobody fucking wants a pair of D&G sunglasses. Nobody's like, let me get a Dolce & Gabbana bag or even shoes. So I was like, oh shit, they really are like not what they used to be. But I do think that it's like fascinating that it appears to be like, I think they hosted the wedding, which probably means they sponsored it. Obviously they gave them all the fashion and they hosted 100%. It literally at their state. But they called the Kardashian family, and I quote, the most cheap people in the world. So yeah.
Yeah. Ain't that something? So it's actually hilarious because I remember you sending me an article about this, and it kind of opened my eyes a little bit to I mean, we all know I am not the fashionista in this group. Like, we're all quite aware of this.
Clearly I am in my white t-shirt and shorts, Lululemon shorts.
But like, you are, I think, are like more aware of what's in season, what's not. Me, on the other hand, like, I'm very much like a jeans, black top, like my jean jacket and some like cute boots and shoes like that. Like, I'm just not the fashionista in the group. Like, we're very well aware of this. So it kind of opened my eyes a bit to the fashion world and sort of fashion world scandal in general. Because yes, I do agree with you. This was definitely a massive PR stunt on Dolce & Gabbana's end of trying to revive their brand, even though hilariously they'd just been talking shit about the Kardashians. But like, okay, cool. And apparently the reason why they're trying to reboot their brand is due to some ad that they had launched. It was like a video or film back in 2018, I believe it was, where they featured an Asian model who was struggling to eat like an array of Italian food. And apparently it was part of like their DG Loves China campaign. They're trying to cater to the Chinese population or their Chinese clientele, I guess. And there was like off screen a voice while he's like trying to eat these Italian foods. Basically, the voice was like mocking the model and saying like, let's use these small stick like things to eat our great pizza margarita. Because I guess he had chopsticks in the ad.
What? Okay. Sorry,
I don't know who told them that that was a good idea. Like, how did that pass through all of the levels of people that it needs to pass through within a company to get the final stamp of approval? Like, I'm just kind of curious.
No, I don't even, we're not, I have nothing to say to that because there's no reason for that. So, but they did some other shit, right?
Yeah. This isn't the only fucking thing. If that doesn't irk you, apparently back in 2015, Gabbana did an interview with a very popular Italian magazine where he essentially said that like he doesn't agree with, gay adoption and, he doesn't agree with IVF. And hold up, let me pull up the quote. He said that they are children of chemistry, synthetic children, rented uterus, semen chosen from a catalog. Direct language that was utilized during the interview. And it's wild to me because Kourtney is being very public about her IVF journey and fertility journey on the show. And to know that she's going through that and still decided to work with a brand that has, said some pretty shitty things in that line. What? Like, are y'all really willing to sell your souls like that on I don't know.
Well,
it irked me.
I mean, I know that we talked about this a little bit in our episode on Monday, but that's kind of exactly why I feel like I'm fucking tired of their shit. And I think a lot of people are just like tired of their shit, right? It's everything that we're just seeing from them. It's just like literally they will stop at nothing to have everything like comped for them. And that's like fine, right? I get it. Don't get me wrong. I like free shit too. But it's just like,
hypocrisy.
It's just like you, and also she's the one who sat here and said like she wants to, she doesn't want to be in a show anymore. She doesn't want blah blah. And then like you have a family, like combined net worth of many billions of dollars. You have 2 fucking private jets in your families. Like you could very well have paid for your wedding and then some by yourself and all these things, and yet like you sold out for that. Like I don't just feel so gross to me. I mean, I also, I think in general, like just Dolce & Gabbana needs to fire their fucking PR person and get a new comms manager or something at the very least. Like it doesn't even, like, what are you even saying? It doesn't even make sense. It's just, I think it's so disgusting that is where they're at, where she would just like, I don't know, like I said on Monday, I feel like Kourtney, why we liked her was because she would have been the one to say like, I feel like she would have called someone out for doing that. And now she's like, that's gross.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what Gabbana has to say about her drinking Travis's cum every day or whatever it is, 4 times a week.
I will say, I think you phrased it quite eloquently and beautifully of like, you have X
Oh,
amount of money in your family and you could have done a beautiful fucking wedding with your own money, like on above and beyond, even chosen an even grander, venue, but
and better fashion, maybe.
100%. And you went and had these people sponsor apparently your wedding and dress you and do all these things for you and your family. And you just like sold your soul to the devil to a degree.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow, especially since I do agree with you. Like we all loved Kourtney. I would have to say like I loved Khloe and then Kourtney was kind of like my second fave. But yeah, Kourtney was, I guess, more of like the real one who would call these types of things out. And now it's, she's just a cog in the machine of extreme wealth.
I don't even think it's extreme wealth. I literally just feel like they are so I think it's like power hungry. They don't need someone to pay for their wedding. They don't need somebody to fly them
power
somewhere.
Are they getting from like having D&G, host the wedding and dressing them?
I think it's literally just the fact that like all of these brands are so desperate to have the Kardashian family like stamp of approval because they know that will convert to eyeballs. It will convert to people talking about them. It will convert to people buying their shit. All of the above.
But there's a part of me that feels like this is kind of backfiring though on that, because now the Kardashian clan is actually getting hate because all of this stuff is coming back to light.
Well, yeah, but I also think it's because it's like they've like hit us in every fucking way possible in a in a 3-week span of time. You have the whole like Marilyn Monroe dress thing. You have you have Kendall not knowing how to cut a cucumber. You have the wedding. You have that, like you have the Beyond Meat thing. You have the private jet thing. Like it's just like it's constant, like a constant. What is it? Barrage. I'm using some like fun terms today.
You're using some big words, girl. Yes.
I'm trying to be more French like you. But yeah, like, no, I feel like it's just like, it's constant and it's in our face at all times. And yeah, for me, it's like, don't get me wrong. If D&G wanted to fucking sponsor my wedding and fly me in and, 700,000 people, no, it was like 50, but whatever, fly me and my closest friends and family and dress us for the weekend. First of all, I would have never worn that hideous dress with my clitoris hanging out. But if it was something else that like, I'm poor, so I can take that. But the fact is, like, I need that. Like, she doesn't need that. And I think that's why it's so gross. Like, to me and to you and to everyone else who like even you who doesn't even give a shit about fashion. Sorry, that was a little aggressive, but you know what I mean? Like,
no, but it's true. That's why you can be aggressive about it.
No,
it's totally fine. No offense taken over here.
No, but I'm saying like the fact that you're like, oh yeah, like that is kind of like
grody.
Yeah, it's like, ew, like why can't you just
be
do
normal?
Better? I don't know.
No, I agree.
But
can we also just talk about real quick one of the things that absolutely just made me shake my damn head? Did you see the video of the food being served at the wedding?
Oh yeah.
The fucking pasta. What is that serving? Like, I don't care how fancy you fucking are. If you're serving me pasta in that portion, I hope you know I'm coming back for seconds, thirds, fourths, and fifths. And I don't eat a lot either, Alina.
Well, I want to know though, like, what else did they feed them? That's the thing. Like, hey,
hold on. If someone gave you pasta in that portion size, it doesn't matter what the fuck else is at that fucking bar or whatever's being served. You gonna be okay with that?
First of all, do you think any one of those women at that wedding were eating fucking pasta? No. So all the guys were getting double the portions. That's number one. Number two, I am very, very sensitive to this because, as you know, we did not do a sit down dinner for our wedding because we wanted people to remain up.
So much food.
But that's my
point. Had so much
that's my point. But if you just saw like one little hors d'oeuvre that was passed around, there was a shit ton of them, right? But if you just saw one picture of one hors d'oeuvre, you would have been like, oh my God, that's nothing. I get it. It's pasta, but still, I'm just saying, devil's advocate over here. I want to know what was on the menu.
All I'm going to say is if we go to a wedding and a friend serves me pasta in that portion, I don't know if I could ethically continue to be their friend. I'm just going to be honest.
No, noted. Next time you come over, I'm going to have more fake pasta and I'm going to serve you this much just because. Wait, we can't go down this rabbit hole right now because we've got a lot to finish talking about with this. But I do have a very fun story. And I think we should do like an episode, like an Am I the Asshole episode about this because we had so much fun with the other like kind of wedding related things. But one of our friends who's here with us in Palm Springs, she was telling us how she went to a wedding the other day and, you know, the bride had told her like, oh, we're going to do like a ceremony before everyone gets there and then everyone will come for the party. So she said that like as the week kind of went on or leading up to the actual wedding, she started to like hear rumblings that like more and more people were invited. And so the bride had like, I don't know, 50 people for the ceremony. They had a sit down dinner and then they cut the cake. And then another 275 people came after. They did not feed them. And then the favor was the cake that they cut at the sit down dinner. Anyway, talking about weddings, we must do an Am I the Asshole episode about this. But I just needed to tell you that, you know, in the moral of the story is like, don't let your guests leave your wedding hungry because you're trash if you do. But okay, going back to D&G. It's been 7 years, right, since that happened?
Yeah. And so like, you know me, I'm a big fan of like, at least if there's, I know considering with like accountability culture, I'm going to call it that because I want to separate it out from like cancel culture. Wanting to keep people accountable for their actions, right? Like there has to be a certain level of space for them to learn. And however, I don't think that was the case with G&G. Like Gabbana came out with like an apology. Oh, it's not what I meant. He said something along those lines of like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You know, like those non-apology apologies?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, I say them every time I get into fight with Mark. So yes, I'm very well versed in them.
Where he's like, I didn't mean to hurt anyone, you know? But it wasn't really an apology. And then nobody heard about it for, you know, years until this Kardashian stuff happened.
Yeah.
But I will say what's interesting about this whole debacle is not only is it opening my eyes to, you know, the level of scandal at D&G, but also I think fashion in general. So I went down this rabbit hole, as we all know, because I love going down rabbit holes. And it's quite common in the fashion world, apparently, to have scandal. Like there was one situation, it wasn't a very well-known brand, but I believe it was in Italy where an Italian designer did blackface. And this was recently, I think it was in 2019. Then there was another situation in 2019 with Burberry, and I think it was their autumn-fall collection, or autumn-winter collection, sorry. And they showcased a hoodie with, I guess, the strings. What are they called? The drawstring? What are they called? The strings on a hoodie? They basically had it in the design of a noose.
Know.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I don't know how these things get okayed. And then apparently there was another debacle back in 2020 with Gucci where they put a straitjacket on a model. And there was, of course, a lot of issues there given, you know, insensitivity due to mental health and whatnot. And even Skims. Remember when Kim's Skims brand, originally she wanted to name it Kimono Shapewear? Remember that whole debacle? And there's like a laundry list of all of these types of scandals. And I don't necessarily know if it's because fashion is a form of art. And so some people take it in one direction and, you know, given, you know, sensitivities across the board, it can be misinterpreted in which way, even though it's meant to be art. But yeah, no, it is quite common. It's almost like every season there's some designer or some fashion brand. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a part of it too that's like PR, because any PR is good PR. Mm-hmm. But it's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to think that everyone, you know, if you approach someone or you whatever about that, they're always going to come up with a way to spin it, right? So it's like, oh, you know, the noose is representative of the phones that we hold and how they're like our, you know, the suicide to socializing, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like people can always fucking spin it in a way. Yeah. I think sometimes like people, I mean, you know, that I think that sometimes it's just not that fucking serious. I also think that like sometimes people just like take things completely out of context. Like, for example, there were some trolls that were like, oh, look at her tearing down the other woman, blah, blah, blah. And like when I said that, like, you could see Kourtney's, I think I said chub rub, right?
Yeah.
First of all, what I actually fucking said was I didn't say she was fat, and I clarified that. So I never.
And you
was
mentioned her
someone down.
IVF, like, and it's okay that she's gained weight. It's totally fine. Just wear shit that like fits
Yeah.
you.
Exactly.
That's-
What I was saying was literally when your fucking dress is so damn short that I see your entire hoo-ha as well as where your thighs fucking meet. You're not she's not somebody whose thighs meet all the way down her leg, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. But the point is, like, I just think people also just like love to hate, and people love to
100%.
just whatever.
And you know me, like coming from a psychological perspective, like everyone's like projecting based on where their mind is at, given their own lived experience. A lot of people, you know, were talking about the fucking dress and going back and forth about the dress. And then there were those who brought in the woman tearing down woman stuff. It just depends on like where you're coming at from life, you know? Yeah. So I agree with you. There's even one situation where, and I think this might have been Prada. I can't even remember, but I was reading it. It was a Ukrainian model and it was recently, and she'd been wearing this piece of jewelry, and immediately people went on socials and got so upset about it because it looked like a noose, the necklace. It looked like a knot like tied or whatever.
I mean, that's pretty bad, but
like I looked at it and I was like, oh, like, I guess. And I like did this. And I was like, oh, I can see that it could look like a noose, but in actuality, like it's also just a piece of jewelry. Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a fully around her neck. It was whatever it is. And it's to your point. It's people are going to see what they want to see based on their own lived experience and where they're coming from at that point in their life. Right. They could have watched something literally right before seeing the show around suicide prevention or a character that was suicidal. And then they're going to see this piece of fashion and be like, oh, that's so insensitive because it's the perspective that they're coming from.
Yeah. I mean, me as a good Catholic woman, I saw Kourtney's dress and I was like, bitch, you are not going into a church wearing that. And that's how I felt. I was offended on behalf of my God.
Did you grow up Catholic?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were Christian. I didn't realize that you grew up Catholic.
No, I'm Catholic. I'm Roman Catholic. I'm not really religious.
Oh, that explains a lot now.
Okay, we're gonna do an episode on religion, but yeah, no, I think it's all just a matter of like, I think you as a designer and you know whoever you are that's running a business, like you need to make a decision on how you want to run your shit, right? Do you want to hire somebody that's going to, you know, read into the sensitivities and then, you know, potentially stifle what you might feel is your creativity, right? Do you want to be like Kim, who heard the fucking feedback and was like, yo, I want to make money here. This isn't necessarily about a creative outlet. I'm going to go ahead and change the name of that because I don't want people to think that I'm, you know, offensive or whatever. So, there is a part of me, don't get me wrong. I think that what they said was disgusting, but there is a part of me that's like, you know what? Gabbana feels the way Gabbana feels. There are people who feel that way. Like it is what it is. I personally just don't let shit like that bother me because it's like, you know,
you won't be able to navigate in life if you're constantly worried about what everyone is thinking. Yeah. Exactly. No, I agree with you. So
also, I wasn't patronizing them before anyway, so it's not that big of a deal for me. Definitely.
Speaking of, I feel so far removed from like awareness of these scandals other than due to the wedding and that article you had originally sent me about D&G, because we're poor.
Exactly.
Just saying. And I think the most recent or most like up-to-date scandal that's like related to us as the normies, if you will, is really the concept around fast fashion. And I mean, I'm sure you know what fast fashion is, but maybe for our listeners who may not be aware, but you know, it's a term I think that's been thrown around a lot lately in the past few years, that folks may not know specifically what it entails. But essentially, fast fashion, it's a business model where they replicate, you know, recent like catwalk trends or like high fashion trends or just trends in general.
You know, they suddenly have dresses with gloves everywhere, bodycon dresses with gloves.
Exactly. There was actually like a whole thing where I think it was Kim had worn some dress from Mugler and it got replicated. And I can't remember if it was Fashion Nova that replicated it. And she got extremely upset about it. And I think there was like a lawsuit or something along those lines because, you know, once again, it's like, well, these designers have worked really hard to come up with these designs and all of a sudden these other companies are replicating it on the cheap.
But it also happened like less than 24 hours after she wore the dress. They were already like produced. So she was just like, wait a second. Like,
it was fucking insane, that quick turnaround. But kind of going back to the description of fast fashion.
Sorry.
So it's basically, no. I love it when we go off script, girl. Yes. But it is essentially when, you know, you take these like high-end fashion designs and you mass produce them at a really low cost and you bring them to retail stores quickly while demand is at its highest. And a couple of examples of this is, Fashion Nova. We mentioned that earlier. You got Shein, H&M, Zara's, I believe, was it
Forever 21.
Forever 21. There's a couple of UK brands. Yeah, Topshop. Poshmark, I think was the other one. Is that what it's called?
Oh no,
it's Topshop, and
it's not. I know what you're talking about though, and I can't think of the name of it. It'll come to me.
Yeah. And so these are all good examples of brands that are all about fast fashion. And they have such a wide variety of things. It's because they can easily create those things. Now, what's interesting historically about this, there's multiple layers around fast fashion, which I think is interesting. Okay. One is when you look at historically in the US, what we were able to afford and how many articles of clothing we were able to buy, it was all about quality, right? And things lasted a lot longer. So in the 1960s, Americans used to spend about 10% of their income on clothing. And on average, Americans would own or like buy about 25 pieces of clothing on average per year, right? Then, of course, you have the rise of like textile mills and sort of like this boom. And then, lo and behold, fast forward to now where most clothing sources are outsourced to make it cheaper. And also kind of going back to the original point in the 1960s, 95% of clothing was actually made in the US. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Fascinating. 95% of it was made in the US back in the 1960s. Yeah. That quickly changes once we fast forward to today, where most of everything is outsourced. I think only about 2.5% of clothing is actually made in the US, only 2.5%.
Wow.
Yeah. We utilize around 3% of our income for clothing on average. And on average, Americans purchase about 70 pieces of clothing per year.
Well, I was going to say we can only utilize 3% of our income because the rest of it's going to like fucking milk and shit like that. And our avocados.
Our avocado toast, guys. It's importante.
Okay.
But then this is the part where you're going to get really sad because we all know you're the environmental activist in the group. I mean, I also care about the environment, of course, but I feel like you are this.
No,
like
you don't. No, you don't. You guys have plastic water bottles all over that fucking household.
Look.
Show
Mom.
me your refrigerator. I'm going to need you to do a reel later and if I don't see.
Where you see, well, we're no longer drinking sparkling water. Remember, that was like a whole contentious point where you were like, no more sparkling water allowed. And so we stopped. No more sparkling water. We're doing better. I promise.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, back to the point I was trying to make. This is the part that's going to make you sad. Because environmentally, fast fashion is an absolute fucking disaster. So we've got massive textile waste, since, folks are more likely to throw these cheaper items away versus saving them in their wardrobes or recycling them because the quality is absolute shit.
Yep.
And then, right. And then
you can't be photographed in the same thing more than once for the gram, right? So may as well throw it out.
For the gram. Meanwhile, I'm over here like literally photographed with the same fucking jacket over and over again. So I'm not contributing to this problem. Thank you very much, Alina. But here's the other fascinating aspect is that wardrobes, basically fashion industry contributes to about 10% of CO2 emissions globally, according to sources. And apparently that's more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined. And they also estimate, but by the year 2050, fashion may have already kind of reached the max carbon emissions that we're supposed to reach in that year. Dun, 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 dun,
oh my God, I don't even know what to say about this.
Yeah.
Look, little bitches, influencers, I'm going to need you to like dial it back. I'm going to need you to like rent shit from each other. Really
it's kind of crazy, but it's also, it kind of makes sense because we've kind of sold our souls to the concept of like, well, we want to be on trend and it's really about quantity over quality now.
Yeah.
Like, nobody gives a shit about the quality of like a piece of clothing. Everyone is just like, oh, is this on trend? Oh, how much does it cost?
Yeah,
and
but
like fast fashion is cheap.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I feel like part of the reason why people are also more inclined towards fast fashion is because it's so expensive to buy like sustainably sourced stuff, like things made of bamboo or tencel and stuff. Like it is really, really expensive.
It
even
is.
just things like living, reducing your waste at home, like buying the glass bottles. And I get it, they cost more to produce and blah, blah, blah. But like, it is really hard for, people to kind of even get into that mindset of trying to be more sustainable because of it. But that's another episode for another day.
Yeah.
But that makes me very sad.
Well, that's not all. Hold on to your butts, guys. There's more. There's also the water pollution aspect.
Oh.
So a lot of this clothing is, kind of
Synthetic.
increasing the already massive issue we have with microplastics in the ocean and in our water sources. And then, of course, there is the really fun ethical concerns around labor. As many of us are probably aware of, a lot of textile, especially fast fashion sourcers are, in Asia, in China and Southeast Asia and India. Some are in Latin America. But these are, areas where unfortunately children are employed. And unfortunately where dangerous working conditions are pretty rampant. And so, there's that.
Great. So, Gabbana, kids can't be synthetic, but fucking clothes can. And therefore, then we can just be drinking microplastics all the time. Got it. Noted on priorities. I mean, look, it's all awful. I'm not going to lie, though, right? Like, there's part of me that's like, I really do wish I could buy an entire wardrobe of like staples that aren't necessarily killing us, the world, and our children. But I do think it makes it really hard to just it's cost prohibitive in a lot of ways. And so if anybody has any ideas to how to make that less so, like, yo, get on that shit.
I guess for me, I'm just kind of curious. Look at you trying to make that money. Yeah.
So I can go buy those clothes.
I'm actually kind of curious, like, I've been reading some articles that talk about how fast fashion is kind of coming to, I don't want to say an end, but like people are becoming wiser to the antics of these fast fashion providers.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think we will get to a point where people will be like, we choose quality over quantity? Really? You don't think so?
I don't think so, because I don't think that that's like what makes a good Instagram photo. And I really do think that like that's what the world lives for. The world lives for what's gonna go viral on TikTok and Instagram, and how am I gonna like get the most views. So
that makes me so sad. This episode really depressed me today. Let's talk about something happy. Come on. Mom, anything, please.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
This is really sad. This is like really, really, really sad. But that I don't have anything happy to talk about other than we're going to happy hour and I'm in Palm Springs. So, and we get to see each other later this week.
I know. I'm so excited actually to see you. Yay. Yeah. I mean, we're actually really excited, guys, because we're going to be filming live for next week. Just a reminder. And we're going to be having a very good friend of ours, Josh, joining us. And we're going to have some really great content for you all. So I think that's the positive note I think we should leave on.
I totally agree with that.
And also, just because Maddie has to be a little positive Pam, I have to do it. Even though it seems like there's no, I don't want to say end in sight to this sort of disaster that we're inflicting upon ourselves in the year, I do feel like we can still make a difference on an individual level. So just like do the best that you can.
Just do the best that you can.
Yeah.
Recycle. Just start with recycling. Meatless Mondays.
I'm actually doing a good job of now looking at flights whenever I'm flying and looking at things that are, green emissions, where it's like neutral carbon emissions.
I love that.
Yeah. It's like there's things that we can do, I think, as a society. And then also like pressure the dumb fucks who are wasting carbon emissions so nonchalantly. I'm looking at you, Leo, with your private jets and Kardashian family. Just saying. Yeah.
Pressure your friends. Just peer pressure. And look at this. I convinced Maddie and Pierre to stop drinking sparkling water because they were going through, I don't even know how many plastic bottles a day. And look how it worked out. Everybody's happy.
We also had moved to glass bottles too shortly after that conversation. And then we were just like, enough with the sparkling.
Enough. Our teeth are rotting.
It's enough now. Anyway.
All right. Well,
note, y'all.
We'll see you live next week from
Sounds
LA,
good.
baby.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.